The first thing I want to ask is, so now that you're in the Hall of Fame, are we going to see a Hall of Fame Wives skit on Saturday Night Live?
I tell you what, I was talking about Saturday Night Live yesterday, actually. That is the most nervous I think I've been. One of the most nervous moments in my life. I have the utmost respect for those actors and actresses on Saturday Night Live because that is not easy to do. And I survived it a long time ago. I don't know if you'll
want to
see
do
me
it
doing
again?
it again. Yeah.
So one of your classmates this year, Marvin Miller, elected by the Veterans Committee, he was no longer the executive director of the Players Association when you came up in the game, but certainly the effects of his legacy are being felt by players like you and everybody around you. What do you think the importance of Marvin Miller is to the game of baseball?
Huge, huge. I mean, I couldn't be happier for the late Marvin Miller and his family. I mean, what he has meant to the Players Association goes without saying. I mean, free agency, arbitration, all the benefits that the players are reaping now are all because of Marvin Miller and his leadership. And, I've said it to the players, the younger players, towards the end of my career, and I say it to them now. Get to know the history of the Players Association, and when you start learning that history, he's one of the first names that come up.
So it's been about 36 hours now since you received the call. What has this past day and a half been like for you and your family?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. I mean, you go from being nervous, anxious, not knowing what to expect, to exhaling, not getting much sleep, flying to New York, doing the press conference, the dinner, spending some time with Larry, who I knew as a player, but I didn't know him personally. But getting an opportunity to spend the last day with him has been enjoyable, and couldn't think of a better person to go in with. So it's been an interesting 36 hours, to say the least.
Good. Your father tells a story about a code of conduct that he and your mom made you and your sister sign through the years growing up. Your parents have obviously had a profound effect on you. How did that contract with your parents shape your personality and your work ethic?
Yeah, my parents made me and my sister sign contracts before every school year, and it discussed, after-school programs, grade point average, respect, curfews, accountability, and I think it gave us a little structure when we were growing up, and it taught us, have work ethic, and some at the time you try to fight it a little bit, you try to negotiate as much as you can, but you realize how helpful and how it helped shape not only me but my sister as well growing up, and it's something that I'm going to do with my kids as well.
So during your early years in the Yankee organization, before that whirlwind tour of the minors in '94, when you went from single-A Tampa to double-A to Albany to triple-A Columbus, all that happened in one summer. Was there anyone in that process that had a really strong influence on you that helped you accomplish what you did as your career in the majors took off?
Yeah, I when I first signed my first full year, I made 56 errors. So I had a lot of work to do defensively, and I credit Brian Butterfield. He was our minor league defensive coordinator, and he's someone that I spent a lot of time with in the instructional league, and he really helped me turn the page defensively and helped me with consistency. And also I worked with Gary Dembo. He was my hitting coach throughout my minor league career, and he's someone that's been in the Yankee organization for years, and I worked with him every offseason. So I'd have to say there's so many people that help you along the way, but those two played a very important role in my development.
Okay. So due to some injuries during the '95 season, you had the opportunity to play 15 games on the big club. When you arrived in late May of '95, you were assigned uniform number 2. The first part of this question is, were you surprised by that number? And then tell us a story about how when you came back in '96 and they tried to give you number 19.
17.
Was it 17?
Yeah.
Okay. They tried to give you number 17. What was that? Tell me that story about that discussion trying to get back to number 2.
When I first got called up in '95, the number I had on my back, I never even thought about it. I mean, everyone says these are sacred numbers in the Yankee organization. There's only so many single digits. At the time, there was 2 and 6. But that didn't cross my mind. You're so happy to just be in the major leagues that you don't even think about it. I honestly think they gave me the jersey because it was the smallest one. I believe Mike Gallego wore it before me, so I think it was the smallest jersey there. And then I always tried to wear number 13 because my dad wore 13 when he was in college. So throughout the minor leagues, anytime I had an opportunity, or even in Little League, I tried to wear 13. And the next year, when I came to spring training, I think they knew that I wanted 13, but that was Jim Leyritz's number. So then they just gave me 17, or told me that I was going to have 17. I was like, whoa, let's hold on a minute. I'm fine with number 2. So it's a good thing that Jim Leyritz, one, was on the team and was wearing 13, and then that they allowed me to change my mind.
Was it a bit of a fight to get that number 2 back?
No, it wasn't.
No?
Yeah, it really wasn't at all.
Good. All right. So during the pennant chase of '96, after the late season 10th inning game-winning single against the Red Sox, you were quoted as saying, "When the game means more, it's a lot easier to play." That certainly coincides with your ability to come through in the clutch, as you've been known to do. But it's not exactly the first thought that comes to mind to people, athletes in general, in those kinds of high-pressure situations. So what was it that allowed you to be at ease in that kind of pressure cooker?
I always felt like I was prepared. You know, my biggest fear in life is being unprepared. It makes me very uncomfortable. So I always felt as though I worked harder or just as hard as anyone else. And when I got into those moments, I looked at it, it was fun. I mean, this is why you play the game. These are the moments that you want to be in. And I was not afraid to fail. Never was afraid to. I failed before. I failed a lot. But that didn't cross my mind. My mind always went back to times that I had success. So that's what made it fun. And those are the types of moments that you live for.
Talked to Johnny Bench a few years ago, and he talked about an inner conceit. And I think those words came out of your mouth recently. You talked about having this sort of a belief in yourself that you're going to do whatever needs to be done. Talk a little bit about what that means to you, because certainly that's part of that drive.
Yeah, you know, I feel as though I was as confident as anyone. I didn't care who we were playing, who I was facing. I always felt I was going to be successful. In big situations, I always wanted to be up. In big situations, I always wanted the ball hit to me. You know, I always wanted to play in those games. That's why I love the postseason so much. Once again, doesn't mean you're going to be successful, but I never shied away from it. And you know, there's a difference between cockiness and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And cocky people and players have always rubbed me the wrong way. But in terms of confidence, I think I had more confidence than most.
Johnny Bench said the same thing. He said there's a difference between cocky and confident.
Yeah.
And he
You
almost
don't have
those
to-
same
you know,
words.
Yeah, you don't have to talk about it,
Yeah.
just as long as you feel it.
Right. So yesterday, during the press conference, you said getting to the Hall of Fame is not part of the dream while you're playing the game. But those words, Hall of Fame player, has been attached to you since almost from the first days on the Yankees. There's a whole generation of players, of fans, that have known you as Hall of Fame career Derek Jeter. And, you know, there's no, the conclusion isn't foregone. You know, there's no guarantees that you're going to get here. But now that you're here, and now that you can look back on all of that, all those words attached to you throughout your career, if those fans were in this room right now, what would you say to them?
You had more confidence in the process than I did. I think when people said it before, it's speculation. You know, now it's factual, which is still, I don't think it's set in yet. But you know, our fan, I keep talking about our fans. I've always been vocal about our fans, and Yankee fans, they watch every game. They're knowledgeable, they pay attention, they hold you accountable, they push you, they drive you. And I wouldn't be here without the fan base. So when you have those interactions with the fans and they say things like that, although it's flattering, I tried to keep it out of my mind. But now we can talk about it.
I have a son at home, 18 years old, senior in high school, going on to play baseball in college, and his inspiration has always been you. And he told me to make sure I told you that. The reason he loves the game is because he watched you growing up. And you are this generation's Mickey Mantle or Joe DiMaggio or Ted Williams. You're the guy that these kids growing up watched. Do you think about what that means?
You know, it's one, it makes you feel old when you say people grew up watching you. But the thing is I spent parts of 20 years here in New York, and I grew up with the Yankee fans. So I've joked about it before. Although I'm feeling old, I've seen a lot of you age too. I mean, we've grown up together, and you know, I always felt consistency. I wanted to be on the field every day. I wanted the fans, I wanted my teammates, the organization. I wanted people to count on me being out there, and I took a lot of pride in playing every single day. And the fans watch, and they see you when you're 20 years old and you come up, then they see you again when you're, you know, throughout the 20 years, and then all of a sudden you're 40 years old and you're retiring. So we've grown up together, but it's a good feeling when you hear those stories.
So you told the story about going to Tiger Stadium as a 10-year-old with your family and telling them someday they're going to come watch you play.
Yeah.
So now here we are sitting for your first official Baseball Hall of Fame interview. Have you begun yet to comprehend what Hall of Famer Derek Jeter means?
No, I really haven't. I think you know since I received the phone call, really haven't had much time to myself to let it set in. So you know, and I think probably over the next few days when I'm home and have a chance to reflect a little bit, and I don't know how. I mean, it feels great, right? But I think it still takes a little bit of time.
Yeah. That uniform looks pretty good on you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I said it yesterday. You know, anytime I put on, well, there's only been 2 times that I put on another jersey since my career started here in New York, and one was when I played for Team USA in the WBC. That felt pretty good, and this one feels just as good.
Good. That's great.